Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and I'm here with my fantastic co-host,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the World of the Freedom Radio Hour. We're so glad that you chose to join us. 91.6 FM is the station you need to be tuned into, DY Music Radio and freedomradiohour.com. Here we are.
I love it.
What up, sir?
You knocked that out of the park. That was fantastic. Well, I'm delighted to see you again. Let us take a moment to let our viewers and our listeners know that the Freedom Radio Hour is here, not only being here for your fantastic music source, but we're here to be your number one source for music, business, news, and trends from around the globe. All right, so we have to talk about net neutrality. Mm-hmm. There's some a huge development, which on the one surface is like a big push and a big victory, but on the other sense, I'm not sure how much of a victory it is. You'll tell me.
Well, I think it's a victory on behalf for citizens.
Well, let's break it down, and you can tell me more.
What has happened in the past, Adam and I have talked about net neutrality.
Yes.
And in doing so, our gentleman that has been appointed by President Trump face,
yes,
by the name of Pai. What's the first name? Ajit Pai.
Yep.
Had went before Congress, and they wanted to make changes to how people receive their information via the net by making it available where people can make profits from it, and making it where it's no longer available for everyone, but it becomes available for a certain few, and people become and can make coins from it.
Yes.
Well, the Senate and their voting decided that they did not want to follow suit with the proposed actions that Pai had set forth, and they voted against, and they rescinded the point where net neutrality is protected for the average citizen.
Well, I love that breakdown. Yes. Just to give you a little bit of context, evidently the Senate, where it just passed, the vote was 52 to 47. And evidently for the Senate, the Democrats, who obviously all voted to restore net neutrality, only needed 3 Republicans. And so they got they only needed 2 Republicans. They got 3. Okay, but now that it's passed the Senate, now it's going to be looked at the House level, and they're saying that it's most likely will not pass. Why? Because the number of Republicans needed to pass at the House level is 20, not
and they needed
2.
20 in regards for it not passing, all they need is 5 more. I think it's 25 that they needed in all.
Well, then you have this to consider, and then you also, the second part that's very important is you need Mr. Trump's signature. And without those 2 things working hand in hand, it becomes an almost insurmountable obstacle in terms of the House vote. But it's not impossible. They're saying, and I agree, this is the time to call up your members of Congress. A website you should check out, 3issues.org.
And that's for those of us here in the States.
Yes, exactly. So if you could definitely call your congressperson, your members of Congress, and let them know that you wish to have the federal government restore net neutrality. But I say that to differentiate, because the states, they have an activist group called Fight for Freedom, something like that. And this group has listed over 35 states that have started fights to restore net neutrality within their state. So they have to hit up the legislature to make that happen. So evidently, net neutrality on the federal level, it was dead, and now looks like, at least on the Senate side, it passed, so they're trying to restore it. But the states are saying, whatever you're doing on the federal level, we're going to reaffirm our commitment towards net neutrality at the state level. And I think that's where we need to talk about it, because that's the big win, right? That the states and now this push at the Senate level is helpful. But the downside is the lack of the votes that will probably happen at the House, because you need 20 Republicans. That's a lot. But I also think we need to talk about how much power we give these guys. These are Congress folks. They're making all these decisions on our behalf, but I don't think they really know our industry like that.
And not only that, but worldwide, because every country has their own set of guidelines when it comes to their own net neutrality. Some of these countries don't have it at all because of where they are. The internet is just crazy, but people need to be aware.
I think you make a great point. I forgot to mention this quickly, that the Lifeline program is the other thing that was on the chopping block at the FCC. What are we talking about? This is Eddie's very point. We're not just talking about how fast or slow our internet connection is here. We're also talking about rural areas, places where it's more difficult to get the kind of broadband internet access over in rural communities. So there was a program called the Lifeline program that basically took a little bit of money here and there to put it together to fund
those communities
for those communities. And so when you had the repeal of net neutrality, you had also the repeal of these Lifeline programs, because those are the first things they're trying to turn the fiscal faucet off of initially. That's going to be anything that costs them money, like Lifeline, they'll shut it off. So I think that's a good point you're making. But I think for you out there, make it your business to pay attention to what's happening politically in your local area, because it may have
in your country, not only your local area. We happen to be here in the States, but be aware of what's going on worldwide, because our music is played worldwide, and in the context of our music being played worldwide, we need to be aware of what's going on here when the laws come up, and they do affect you.
Yes, I love you for saying that. I think that's great. A great point. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about more of this music business news. And particularly, I want to talk about Mr. Lyor Cohen. He's
and who is Lyor Cohen?
He runs YouTube Music. We'll break down what he's talking about right here on the Freedom Radio Hour.
91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. DY Music Radio, the Freedom Radio Music Hour.com.
Yes, come back.
Back shortly.
Singer, songwriter, performer, and host Eddie Nicholas debuts his fantastic new album. Released in conjunction with mixtape sessions and Deck Music imprint, Eddie brings you a 16-track album full of fantastic jams upon jams, perfect for any dance floor. The album includes records like Fall in Love, Goomba, and Reuben. Check out EddieNicholas.com and TrackSource for his brand new LP.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What up, beautiful people, and welcome back. 91.6 FM, DY Music Radio, the freedomradiohour.com. I'm Eddie Nicholas, and I'm sitting here with my knowledgeable co-host, the one and only Mr.
Adam Cruz, and you're locked in on the Freedom Radio Hour, your number one source for music business news and trends from around the globe. We got to talk about what's happening with Mr. Lyor Cohen. He's the guy that runs YouTube Music.
Okay.
But he's a legend in the game. He ran Def Jam back in the day, so he's been around for a long time. But I want to talk about Mr. Lyor Cohen's recent interview on NPR. In particular, the reporter on the article, his name is Rodney Carmichael, was talking with him about, all of what's going on with YouTube. They recently launched this YouTube premium service. Let me give you a little...
What happened to YouTube Red? Did they just get rid of that? Because I know it was like YouTube Red, YouTube what?
That's a great question. So this is the best thing. This is what I've been able to surmise about this whole situation. Evidently, YouTube Red was the video programming component. So that was, in my estimation, I'm sorry, YouTube, if I have this wrong, but evidently,
please let us know if we do. Contact us.
YouTube Red was kind of like their attempt at being like a Netflix.
Okay.
So they were video, right? Then they had YouTube Remix and YouTube Music and YouTube Premium now. So they have a lot of names here, but I guess the sense is that they have a video component, a music component, and a free component.
Okay.
So what they're trying to do is say, look, we understand that we have a 1.5 billion users visiting our website per month. They're sitting through the ads, they're engaging in free content at our website, and we're taking the money that we make from the advertisements and paying out to artists, okay? Now, what we want to do is also build a subscription service. So we don't just want to have the free with the advertisement part. We also want to have a subscription service. But why? Because we're paying attention to Spotify, Apple Music, and they're making a lot of money.
And the only thing about a subscription service that they remove is the commercials.
Well, I think that's true. Well, the other thing that they boast is that
What do they boast?
you could access the content without an internet connection.
Lies.
Yeah, it plays in the background because a big issue was when you access the app, right, and then you minimize it in some way to access something else, like say Facebook, it stops whatever you're listening or viewing. So when you sign up, it allows you to continue enjoying the content as you navigate different apps. It won't stop it.
Something to eat up your battery power. So,
I didn't even think of that. That's so funny.
If it's constantly running, it's eating up your battery power.
Well,
Come on
if you're
now.
paying your little well, here's how they break it down.
Break it down.
So YouTube Premium.
Down to the ground.
Yes, YouTube Premium, which is now basically what's taken over from Red, is going to be $11.99 a month.
Okay. I do $12 per month.
$12 a month. You get like the
times
Netflix
1
kind
point
of
something millions of folks. That's a lot of corn.
But I wanted you to know about this part. When you sign up for YouTube Premium at that $11.99 price point,
Which they want every month.
yes, they will also give you a complimentary subscription to YouTube Music. What Eddie is saying, the ability to navigate the website at youtube.com without commercial, you can do it in the background, offline, all that kind of stuff. So I'm saying, wow, isn't that fascinating that they want you to pay into the video service, but they'll throw in a complimentary subscription to YouTube Music, which harkens back to, remember our in a past episode, we talked about how some of the articles reference music as being such a small part of their overall business that it was like the cigarette lighter that's sold at the counter of a bodega or somebody's 7-Eleven or Wawa or something. And so I thought, when I instantly saw that as a sales gimmick by YouTube, I was like, oh wow, they've completely devalued the music to zero. Because now you can...
The values in the commercials.
And in the videos.
Advertising in the videos.
Evidently. But not in the music. The music was a throwaway. Sign up and you get this for free. I don't know about you, but I don't want our music to be this throwaway, a last-ditch effort to get us to buy into this $11.99 a month. I was under the impression that YouTube was going to finally develop a mechanism that creates like a deep connection with the music, a deep connection with the artist and the film, and all of it together. Not some like, buy this and then we throw in this other package. Like, this ain't crazy, Eddie.
That's the deep connection that they want to get. They want to buy into your psyche, that all they have to do is show something to you subliminally and you purchase it.
Well, I think we have to understand that the future of apps and videos, first of all,
and millennials love apps.
Yes, they're all about it.
And like we were talking about just a couple of days ago, if they make one where people don't have to actually get up and go out and vote.
Well, I was talking about that before because here in the States, we're in the midst of primary elections. These are the kinds of elections that aren't the national presidential elections. They're the midterms and stuff. So I'm wondering, for millennials, I'm sure they would appreciate some sort of app that allows you easy access to be able to vote. But all you need is some sort of foreign power to hack that, and boom, you can manipulate the numbers.
And and that's with any app. And speaking of manipulating numbers, if we can just go to let's go back to Jay-Z and Beyonce and TIDAL.
Okay, so let's talk about it. You know that Jay-Z is part owner of TIDAL. Beyonce is his spouse, who's also a megastar. So talk about what you've learned about TIDAL.
They're talking about that with TIDAL, that once again they come off of the portion of their prices, them inflating their prices of their value.
What are they inflating?
How much they're worth and how much they pay out to artists in regards to the monies that they bring in and how much they pay out and how much they're selling their shares for investors to come in to buy. And part of that was going on when we know that Jay-Z first eventually bought into that company. He found out that there were issues with their
Yes, great point. Quick aside is that Jay-Z bought TIDAL from a Norwegian company, and he bought that under the auspices that it had a certain number of subscribers and activity to that company. When he bought it and then conducted an audit, he discovered that it was a fraction of the amount that they touted. So there was a lawsuit that ensued to reclaim damages as a result of that lying, basically, that falsification. That's what you're essentially saying.
And, and it all boils back down to, when we come back to the premise of what YouTube is doing, are they inflating their prices to get people to buy into
what they're doing? Well, let's take a break. Let's talk more about TIDAL's troubles. I need to break down a little bochinche, that's Spanish for gossip, right here on the Freedom Radio Hour.
Bochinche, what's the one? Stinky rice? Bochinche, they cho or something like that. 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan.
Come back with us. Mixtape Sessions is proud to present singer, songwriter, actor, and Mixtape Sessions recording artist Jacqueline Graham. Produced by DJ and label head Adam Cruz, the Jacqueline plea includes Inside My Head and You Showed Me Your Love. Check out Jacqueline Graham and the Jacqueline EP, available to stream everywhere now. Mixtape Sessions, music for the people.
Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, and on the web at dwildmusicradio.com. You're deep in the zone, right here on the Freedom Radio Hour, your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. I'm sitting here with my fantastic co-partner,
Eddie Nicholas. What a beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of 91.6 FM.
Yes.
We're going to break it down. Before we left, we were talking about TIDAL and YouTube.
Yes. I think we need to talk about it. So my brother Eddie was hinting at a bit of the story here, which is that TIDAL is dealing with some trouble around inflating of the numbers, a manipulation of the numbers. Right now, there's a bit of an issue where a Norwegian newspaper has published a year-long investigation that they conducted against TIDAL. What did they do? They basically discovered or came in contact with data that confirmed that TIDAL, in fact, had been underpaying royalties to its artists. They're saying that
that's something new. We've been underpaid.
Well, they're saying that it's basically the gap of information or the discrepancy totals the hundreds of millions of plays. And so this Norwegian newspaper published this article, and then it caused an uproar, as you can imagine, in the surrounding areas, where a Dutch or Danish outfit sued because they are representing over 30 songwriters, and so they're alleging that part of that underpayment affects their bottom line, so they're suing for damages around that.
Which it does.
Well, I think like this. We're going back to Mr. Lyor Cohen for a second, who is the head of YouTube's music. He was telling Rodney Carmichael in this NPR article that he kind of chastised
Rodney Carmichael.
So Rodney Carmichael is a reporter for NPR. He was interviewing Lyor Cohen, who is the head of YouTube Music, who in part said that he was joining YouTube Music because he wanted to add diversity to their distribution model. That is a fancy way of saying he wanted to add a little flavor and color to what they were doing out there in YouTube. And so Carmichael, the reporter, said, but how do you navigate or how do you negotiate that with the fact that it's been reported that YouTube is paying the most minuscule amounts to artists over time? What he's referring to, Mr. Carmichael, is what we called value gap. To which Lyor Cohen responded, hey, you actually haven't done your homework. What pisses me off essentially is that this has become a soundbite that we at YouTube Music underpay our artists, which is not true.
Lies.
He's saying that Mr. Carmichael is not doing his homework because if he had done his homework, he would have realized that in America, YouTube actually pays comparable to the other streaming websites. And what is that amount? That is $3 per user per 1,000 streams. That's what Spotify and Apple Music and the like are paying, comparably speaking.
So, do you hear the craziness of that? For 1,000 plays, you only earn $3. And out of that $3, you actually may only walk away with a quarter of a penny.
Right. So what Lyor Cohen is boasting about that figure that Eddie and I are disgusted by, right? Let's start there. Secondly, he's saying that Mr. Carmichael, the reporter for NPR who was covering him, if he had done his homework, he would have realized that their rate that they're paying in the U.S. is comparable to the others, and that because they're a global company that where they're making inroads in developing nations, the number gets squelched a bit because they're a huge juggernaut.
And therefore should be paying more money than what they're paying, in my opinion. You know, let's get real. When we get to the point where artists are earning 50% pure of their creative
But I want to talk
works.
about, you bring this up a few times now. You're saying the following, and stop me if I'm wrong. You're saying the artists on all these streaming services should be receiving the lion's share.
Yes.
At least 50%.
50%.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying, according to the reports, where any of these figures are discussed, they're saying that those companies cannot operate if they're paying out 50% to the artist. Why? Because there are costs associated with getting the music out there to then make money from it, to that pays you.
Technology does wonders, so that's no excuse. They can minimize and make other things streamlined and cost effective. They can make the way that they pay artists a fair share of their monies.
If we go back, if I have one little argument to bring up, we go back to Live 365, this non-interactive streamer that was great for a number of years, and it closed its doors because the Copyright Royalty Board addressed the amount that they were paying out and raised that amount, that royalty rate. And so companies like Live 365 says, we can't pay you what you think you're worth, Eddie Nicholas, because when you do that, we have to shut our doors because there's not enough there for us to continue
then shut
operating.
your doors.
And that they did.
And they did. Then good riddance and bad cake to a company that could not afford to pay people justifiably what they are worth.
But this is what these companies argue. They argue this all the time, that listen,
the companies are too busy paying their overhead, their shareholders, their presidents and CEOs, these big, huge salaries that run into the millions and millions of dollars that could pay 3 or 4 independent artists.
I agree.
So that's where my issue is, when you come down to all the dollars and cents and how these companies and how all these people are sitting behind these little tables and making all these decisions on how much people should be paid for their art. Gone are the days when you really were paid what you were worth.
I agree. I think the takeaway here for this episode is be vigilant, be aware of your business. If you're an artist, make sure that your information, your titles are updated with your performance right organizations. Stick to it. Pay attention to what's happening in the news. Pay attention to shows like this, because we're trying to give you the information that affects your bottom line. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Freedom Radio Hour. Check out my brother, Mr. Eddie Nicholas, with the Do You Want to Dance LP, available everywhere now. Check out EddieNicholas.com for more. And of course, check out DJAdamCruz.com for more of my fantastic music. And of course, check out our free app. We have a free app on Google Play and within the App Store. Search out Freedom Radio Hour. You get all our episodes, podcasts, mixtapes, merch, and more right at your fingertips for free. Have a great weekend and a great week ahead. See you next time.
That's right. Stand up, shout it out. Let them know what you're worth, what you want. Be you. Stand strong. Power to the people, as I always say. Peace and love. 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, DY Music Radio, and the Freedom Music Radio Hour. Peace and love.
Peace and love, y'all. See you next time. Peace.